Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Demonic Packs is right around the corner, so I want to get into a little bit of league experience rate analysis. I know this is going to be impactful, especially when you're making your decisions on what relics to choose, and I know everyone right now is, going through their strategy and plans. If you happen to come across this video at a later year, the league experience rates and how relics and combat masteries and things affect those rates have been pretty standard and kind of locked in from Jagex in the last league and this league. And so I predict that even if you're watching this a year or 2 years later, 2027, 2028, today's video is still going to be relevant to those future leagues. So just keep that in mind, but let's get right into the league experience rate analysis. All right, so in today's agenda, first, we're just going to go an overview of what all the league multipliers are. I'm going to use Demonic Packs as an example because that's the league that's coming up soon in the next few weeks. I'm going to talk about relic effects. I have some example relics from the T1 choices for Demonic Packs that have been revealed and how they differently affect the league multipliers and the rates. In addition to that, I also want to cover combat masteries because combat masteries effectively boost your damage and DPS, which also in turn boosts your experience rates, right? We're going to go over a few examples: hunter, cooking, and attack. If I went through all the skills, this would be like an hour-long video, and no one wants to listen to me rant about every single skill for an hour. Lastly, I want to kind of summarize on how the levels and experience affect your tasks, and then I want to kind of give an overview of everything we've talked about and give you a quick reminder of what to keep in mind when making your decisions for your league relics. All right, so in the upcoming Demonic Packs League, we start out with a 5x multiplier. This is uniform against combat and non-combat rates. At tier 2, you immediately boost to 8x. This is pretty early on, within the first hour or so, couple hours or so. Just depends on where the rates get set. But yeah, you're most likely going to go from 5x to 8x pretty quickly. At tier 3, we unlock a special multiplier for combat. This is a 1.5 times additional boost to the combat, and this is multiplicative, so it's not actually giving you from 8 to 9.5, it's actually bringing you to 12x, because the 1.5 gets multiplied into that 8, and this is going to be this continuous multiplier across all the tiers. Okay, so just keep that in mind. At tier 4, we have no experience change. But at tier 5, again, we're going up from 8 to 12x on the base multiplier, and that means your combat's going from 12 to 18x. At tier 6, there's no change. At tier 7, we go from 12x to 16x, and then also combat now goes from 18x to 24x. And then lastly, tier 8, there's no change. All right, so relic effects. All right, so in Demonic Packs, we have 3 different types of relics that have been spoiled for T1, and they actually are a good example of how relics impact your skills and XP rates. So Endless Harvest gives you double fishing, woodcutting, and mining resources, okay? And Jagex has confirmed that you will get the XP with it. What that means is you're getting twice as many fish, and you're getting experience drops from both of those, which means addition to those, 10x or 5x multipliers, or your 5x multiplier gets doubled to 10x. Okay, and that means when you're at the tier 7 plus rate, you're gonna get 32x times the multipliers. Now, what's interesting here is Endless Harvest is an AFK relic, but with these double XP rates and double harvesting rates, you're gonna get max and 99 and 25 mil XP in kind of no time because of that multiplier. So how long and how effectively are you gonna AFK for? Who knows, and how much you actually will, maybe not. If you're going for that pet from mining or from fishing, this is probably a good relic to choose if you really want that league pet for that reason. Okay, now moving on to Barbarian Gathering. In this case, your hands will count as the crystal version. And what's important to understand here is when you start out at a low level, you're typically using a bronze axe, then an iron axe, then a steel axe, and then mithril axe, and adamant axe, and so on, right? Each time you improve that tool, you have a better chop rate against the trees, right? And that effectively makes you faster XP rates because you're more successful at chopping, right? By getting the crystal version, you have a greater chance that your first chop to be successful. In addition to that, on failing, this relic gives you a 50% chance to succeed instead. Now remember that the tool improvement from bronze to crystal is a big boost, but that drops off over time because in the game you would yourself upgrade your tools eventually until you unlock dragon and crystal, and then therefore you wouldn't be getting so much of that base boost. but that 50% success chance on failure is actually really, really valuable, especially on like higher level trees like Magic and Use, where you have a higher failure chance. Now you're getting that 50% chance to succeed. So I don't know the exact rates because it'll kind of vary between the tool you're using, the level you are, and like the tree or the resource you're harvesting, but it's almost double in some cases, and so it's crazy. So this is a different variation of kind of giving you double XP rates like Endless Harvest, but it kind of just changes and depends. Now, for example, if you were power mining in the game, when you power mine, you already have a really high success chance with your dragon pickaxe and it being a high level. And so in that situation, you wouldn't really benefit too much from that 50% success chance there. But in other skills where you're mining Runite or something, you would get that benefit. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind, that the success chance really matters on the resource you're gathering and how it boosts your XP rates. Okay. Now, lastly, we have abundance, and this is a different relic. We've seen this historically, and I went over this in my last video where I gave a detailed breakdown of abundance, but pretty much you're going to get a flat XP boost in your skills across all of the skills pretty much. Okay, now so just remember that that 10 XP multiplier, or the 10 XP you get, because you get 2 XP base times 5, it goes up to 16x for the 2 XP, so you get 32 XP. And then for combat, you still get that 1.5 times multiplier, so that XP rate is a little bit higher. Now remember, when you're training combat, if you're training controlled, you're getting strength, attack, and defense, and all of them are getting that 48 XP flat drop. And in addition to that, you're always getting hit points experience, and so hit points is always getting that. And the same thing applies for when you're training defensive, magic, or ranged, and you're getting defense and range, or defense and magic. You're also going to get that 48 XP boost into each of those. Now, this one is a lot more powerful lower levels because your XP rate great gain is pretty low at lower XP levels, and we'll see that in the examples that the experience per hour that you're getting is low, and so this number is a lot higher in comparison to your base XP. But as you go higher up, let's say you're like woodcutting magic trees or something that's getting several hundred experience base, then multiply it again by maybe that 32 or 16 times multiplier, and you're going from 200 or 300 experience to I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 experience, right? In that situation, 32 XP is a much smaller amount, but nonetheless, because this stays flat across the board, it is a great flat experience rate gain across all of your skills. Okay, now in addition to that, there's a secret huge bonus to abundance, which is you get a 10 level boost to all of your skills. Now what that means is you're going to be able to unlock higher training methods, and you're not going to be stuck at those lower level ones. And typically higher level training methods have a better XP rate than lower level training methods, and so that boost is super additive in addition to that. So it allows you to unlock that faster training method. That jump could be from 50K to 80K, right? And so that's a 30K boost. Now you take that and you multiply that by, I don't know, whatever your 5x, 8x, 16x multiplier is, and that's how much more XP per hour you're getting, which is absolutely bonkers, right? So just keep that in mind, that is actually another secret boost that'll kind of accelerate you towards the end of the game. But once you hit level 80s and 90s, you won't be missing too much in those high XP rate training methods, and so then that boost kind of falls off for most cases. All right, combat masteries. Now, the way combat and experience works is you kind of get some experience based off of the damage you dealt, right? So if you hit 1, you get 4, and if you're doing controlled methods, you get a different one there. All right, so the more accuracy you have to hit instead of a 0 and getting an actual hit, the faster you hit, so how often you hit, the more damage you deal, and if you can get a double hit, will all impact your XP rates for your combat skills. Now, it's pretty common for most players who play leagues to pretty much always hit 99 and 25 mil XP across all of their skills. If they choose specific masteries, they may not hit that in the other skills that they don't choose, but usually you're doing some PVM and you're hitting that, but that XP rate really matters. So just keep that in mind, that this will boost your combat effects. And so as you're unlocking your tiers for your relics, but you're also unlocking your combat masteries, that will effectively boost it, right? So more accuracy, you hit more often. We've seen melee combat masteries give you a better accuracy, right? We've also seen it in range and other situations where you don't miss, right? Faster attack rates. This is pretty uniform across all combat styles, where it just kind of halves your attack rate, which makes those 5-tick and 4-tick weapons super duper fast, and then thus doubling your XP rates. A melee last league had a melee echo, and this is an example from Raging Echoes because we haven't seen the combat masteries yet for demonic packs. But because of those echoes, each echo was doing a hit, and then you were getting experience from that as well. And so that was another huge way to get experience. Again, combat is just so fast that you're going to hit 99 within the first few days of playing, assuming you're doing PVM content. And so it doesn't matter too much in addition to that 1.5 extra boost that we already have. But just keep in mind that this will amplify all of the boosts you're getting from your relic and your passives. All right, let's get into a few examples. So cooking. Now, we don't have any relics so far in demonic packs that have been spoiled that impact cooking. However, cooking is such a fast base skill. It's absolutely nuts, all right? When you're at the higher levels and you're cooking Karambwans and you have a really low burn rate, your experience is massive. I remember last league, I think I just fished a bunch of Karambwans and then cooked them, and I was 99 within, I don't know, an hour or two from after once I've gathered all the Karambwans, right? So this is a great example of a skill that's already so fast that you probably don't necessarily need relics to boost because the base multiplier is already super powerful, and so you can kind of just blast through the skill without any additional benefit from relics, right? Just a quick caveat, I did pull this data from Reddit. There are cooking skill and XP rates from the wiki. I would recommend you go look at those. It just varies because in different regions we'll have access to different types of fish and different training methods, and that kind of applies across all of leagues. For this league, for example, we're starting in Varlamore, and we are getting Karamja. Who knows, maybe in another league we don't actually get Karamja at all, and so there's no Karambwans. This just depends, and so I just kind of pull out some generic information that I found. I didn't want to go into specific experience rates for specific skills just because they vary based on your regions. All right, now let's talk about Hunter really quick. Now, Hunter historically has been a slow skill, whether you're gathering Chimchampas or waiting for any sort of traps to trigger. And so we have this Woodsman Relic. This really kind of boosts it. Remember, this is just the base multiplier of the experience you're getting because you're getting double the amount of Hunter loot, right? And you're getting double experience from the Hunter contracts as well, right? However, in this relic, they talk about giving you boosted chances and faster rates of getting the animals, right? And so because the chins just kind of spawn and run right into your traps, that's actually also boosting your experience rate, right? So not only are we getting the 2x additional from the Woodsman effect here, but there's also a faster chance to get those animals trapped into your traps. And so that is also amplifying this. So this number is actually probably even higher than the one I've listed here. Just kind of keep that in mind. It's absolutely nuts how powerful Woodsman is for Hunter. Okay, let's talk about attack really quick. Now attack, again, this depends on your gear. This depends on your level. This depends on like maybe what masteries you've unlocked, right? There's so many dependencies here, but just imagine at the lower levels, maybe you're getting 15k XP per hour, right? Getting that 5x multiplier goes to 75k and so on and so on and so on. You can see that you're getting up to, almost 3 mil XP per hour at the high end in the late game. However, if your gear and your combat masteries have a play in this, I'm guessing if you have the melee combat masteries fully unlocked at this point, at this level in the game, I think your XP rates for attack would be double to this easily if you were attacking in pure attack mode. Now the same thing applies to strength, and strength has a higher max hit, so just kind of keep that in mind. Attack has a higher accuracy, and so there is some math to be done there, but again, your combat skills are just going to go up so fast. Okay, and so maybe you're getting to the point where like, okay, I understand all this. Why does this really matter? And don't forget that everything that we do in leagues is primarily unlocked around tasks, right? So if you complete tasks, you get points, and those points get you to a further threshold, and that then unlocks your relics and your tiers and your regions, and so then you get to do more things and progress more, and then be able to go and fight the bosses and obtain the gear and the superpower that we all love about leagues, right? And so it's really important to think about what relics are affecting what skills and how you're going to achieve some of these things. Some of the most common tasks that we've seen in the past and we're most likely going to see again in demonic packs are going to be, achieving base levels. So achieving, base level 30, 40, 60, 80, all the way up to 95. 95 is a master task, and so it's 400 points, as well as maxing the game is also 400 points, right? But even just in the early game when you're trying to get points, just achieving your first level 30 will also be 30 points, right? So for example, you start out with Endless Harvest, you just go start attacking a tree, you're getting so much experience so fast, you're going to hit level 30, you're going to hit those 30 points and get a huge unlock really early on. Right. In addition to that, maxing all of your skills is a base 200 points. And so 200 times the 23 skills that we have, right, that's 4,600 points. And also there's another task usually for 25 mil experience. Now, I don't know if we're going to get that one again this league. My guess is yes, this has been a pretty standard stable task that we've seen for a while. 200 points to each of the skills. And so if you're ever thinking about maxing in the game and, you want to get the dragon trophy, pretty much achieving all max levels and 25 mil XP is going to almost be a requirement to achieving the dragon trophy. Now, if you're really heavy into PVM and getting collection log for all the items and everything else, and clues, you probably don't need to worry so much about maxing. Just depends on your strategy. Maxing is a safe and stable way to kind of get towards dragon trophies. Okay, and so what to keep in mind? I kind of covered all of these, but I'll just kind of reiterate one last time. Remember, you want to think about your better and easier XP rates. I just find it to be a lot more fun when I don't have to grind so hard. I know, some of the racers who are going for, first place will try to do as many sweaty tasks as possible. They'll 2-tick chop their teaks. They will, do fletching while they're running and things like that. To me, that's not the way I play personally, and I'm not in a rush or I'm not a skilled player to kind of get first place. And so I'm looking for the ways to minimize my friction, right? So you remember dodgy deals. Thieving is such a click-intensive method, whether you're doing blackjacking or even just spam clicking on RD Knights. And being able to just click once and AFK thieving was a complete massive game changer. Not only was it a great XP rate because you never failed, but in addition to that, it just kind of reduced and made it much more chill, right? And that allowed me to kind of max that skill and get to 25 mil XP. And that was a great way to kind of AFK as well throughout the day and even get the Rocky pet. Right. So just keep that in mind that you want to kind of choose your relics that kind of ease the pain of leveling certain skills, especially if you are going for that dragon trophy. That will help out a lot. And also kind of keep in mind that rounding out all of them. So don't get 2 relics that kind of boost the same skill. Try to see and pick ones that kind of round you out. All right. Awesome. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I know this video went a little bit long. I really appreciate your support in watching these videos. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.